everyone, and welcome to the 5th race of the 2003 NASCAR iRacing Career Mode here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway for today's Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500. This race should be a lot of fun. This is the old school Atlanta, so tire wear is going to be a major factor, and drivers are going to have to really take care of their tires throughout this race. But before jumping into today's race, here are the point standings coming out of Las Vegas and heading into today's race. Ryan Newman ended up winning actually last time out in Las Vegas, becoming the first repeat winner of 2003, and extends his lead over Matt Kenseth by just a little bit. And it seems like the battle might be between Newman, Kenseth, and Harvick, as those were the three drivers that were the best drivers back at Vegas. But we'll see today if that'll stay the same, because tire wear is going to be a big issue. But I think now is time to go on ahead and jump into the starting lineup for today's race. So to kick off the starting lineup at row number 1, we have Rusty Wallace, who wins the pole for the first time in 2003, and to his outside is Bill Elliott. Row number 2 is Tony Stewart and current Winston Cup point leader Ryan Newman. And in row 3, Hendrick teammates of Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon. Row 4, Bobby Labonte and Sterling Marlin. Row 5, McMurray and Jeff Green. Row 6 is Terry Labonte and Kevin Harvick. Row 7 is Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ricky Rudd. Row 8, Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch, the Roush teammates. Row 9 is Dale Jarrett and Greg Biffle. Row 10, the DEI boys of Steve Park and Michael Waltrip. Row 11, Todd Bodine and J.B. Spencer. Row 12, the other two Roush drivers of Mark Martin and Jeff Burton. Row 13, Tony Raines and Elliott Sadler. Row 14, Zachary Smithley and Ward Burton. Row 15, Joe Nemechek and Dave Blaney. Row 16, John Andretti and Jerry Nadeau. Row 17, Casey Mears, Robbie Gordon. Row 18, Kyle Petty and Larry Foyt. Row 19, Mike Skinner and Johnny Benson. Row 20 is Jerry Mayfield and Kenny Wallace. Row 21 is Ricky Craven and Christian Fittipaldi. Right at the field, row 22 is Jack Sprague. And we do have some DNQs that are Hermie Sadler, Derek Cope, Ken Schrader, Kevin LePage, Kirk Shelmerdine, and Morgan Shepherd. You see Ken Schrader is highlighted in yellow, and that is because yesterday he actually had a pretty bad accident in qualifying, as we do have the replay for it, as he was going through the corner normally, and then he just got a little bit of loose and slammed right into the outside wall. And unfortunately, in his qualifying lap, that ended up taking him out of contention to make the show today. He did go to the medical center. He did get checked up. He is okay. And hopefully we will see Ken Schrader next time out at Darlington. Or at least that's the hope. But with him in our thoughts, we're going to go on ahead and send it up to Larry Mack and Darrell Waltrip to go on ahead and give us the command to lead us to the green flag.
CW, like I tell you, reach up there and pull them belts tight one last time.
We're ready to go here. It's going to be fun. Here they come. Here they come. Boogity, 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 boys. Let's go racing.
Contact at the back of the pack. Ricky Rudd and Dale Earnhardt Jr. got together, it seemed like. That's going to stack up the field back there quite a bit. Zachary in the 80 took avoiding action to avoid a big crash. That was some good heads-up driving by the 80. And car to the wall on the outside is the Coors Light Dodge of Sterling Marlin. He's going backwards, and he's still up in the outside wall. That's going to stack up the field again, and that's going to push all these drivers back, like Tony Raines, Jeff Burton, and Jimmy Spencer. Todd Bodine got pushed back a little bit. And Marlin got hard into the outside wall, and that might take him out of contention. He's going to slip all the way to the back of the field already on lap number 1. That is unlucky for Sterling Marlin. He had a pretty good qualifying position. He started 8th, and already he's up in the outside. He was already on the outside wall, and he's pretty much done for the day, as Rusty Wallace has led the first 2 laps here at Atlanta. And remember, you do get 5 bonus points for leading a lap, and if you lead the most laps, you get 5 bonus points added on at the end of the race. If you do lead the most laps, that is. So a little bit further in the back, Ricky Rudd and Zach are kind of going at it. Zachary trying to take the 7th spot away from Rudd, rather the 8th spot away from Rudd. He does pass him pretty good in turns 1 and 2. Zachary the past 2 weeks has been the star rookie, and his win at Rockingham and his 4th place at Las Vegas last week has continued to show that he's a pretty fast rookie. He knows what to do when he's around this place. So he's doing pretty good as he's up inside the top 10 once again. As we look a little bit further ahead to Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson, and Ryan Newman, Bill Elliott in 2nd, And Rusty Wallace currently in the lead. But it does seem like that Bill Elliott is kind of closing the gap a little bit on Rusty. As there you see Marlon coming out of the pits. Unfortunately, though, with the damage that he sustained on lap number 2, he's pretty much done and out of this race. He's technically 2 laps down of this race. He's going to try to stay on the lead lap. He does come out ahead of the leaders. The leaders might have to navigate their way around him. They might not have to navigate their way around him. Marlon might be able to pull away from them, and they can have their own little fight between Rusty and Bill. What a race this would be if Bill Elliott could seal the deal for the win here at home. Nice flyby of all the drivers. Absolute beauty. As a lot of these drivers are jockeying for position, like Bobby Labonte and Matt Kenseth were kind of doing back there a little bit. Seems like Labonte got the better end of the stick out of that. Tony is getting a little bit closer to Newman, but also at the front, Bill Elliott is getting closer to Rusty Wallace for the lead. He does get a nice run out of 3. He's going to dive it. He's going to jump to the inside of Rusty. They're going to go side by side almost for the lead in 1. Rusty's going to go to the outside. However, these drivers, they don't go as far back as they did in Vegas when they try the outside. So Rusty's going to get a good run on the outside and try to hold the lead on Bill Elliott in the 9. And he does down the back straightaway. Nice, beautiful run for the Miller Lite Dodge of Rusty Wallace. Bill Elliott will slip back a little bit, but not by much. As there's kind of a 3-car battle going on for 3rd. Zachary right now, he got around Michael Waltrip at some point. He's up to 8th right now. He got around Mikey, who's down to 9th. Michael having a good race today. It is early stages in this race, so a lot can change. We'd already seen Bill Elliott trying to make a move on Rusty Wallace. He has caught the back of the Miller Lite Dodge again. Rusty Wallace has kind of been outshined by his teammate Ryan Newman, who has won 2 of the first 3 races thus far this season, and Rusty hasn't had the greatest first 3 races of the season, but he is trying to bounce back. He is trying to get up to Newman's level, up to Newman's pace. However, Bill Elliott's going to try to spoil the party as he jumps to the inside of Rusty Wallace for the lead in turn 2. They're going to be side-by-side down the back straightaway as Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman back there for 3rd or side-by-side. That battle ends with Newman coming out. Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace are going to carry this battle into 3 and 4. And Rusty will hold it coming out of turn number 4. And Bill Elliott will just have to settle for 2nd for now. He doesn't still have enough time to get Rusty. That 9 car is fast. Bill Elliott is showing that 9 car is pretty quick. And that he can get around Rusty. He just needs a good run and a good opportunity to get around him. You see back there in 3rd, Tony Stewart making a move on Ryan Newman for 3rd. Looks to have a little bit of a run. Don't really know if he was able to keep the momentum going and grab 3rd off of Newman. Newman may have kept it. But as we look at the front, Bill Elliott, he is closing the door, or closing the gap rather, on Rusty Wallace for the lead. Bill Elliott's gonna go to the bottom to try to get around Rusty, get a little bit of a run, take a little bit of a peek a little bit of nose in there. Doesn't look like it. He does have a shot though. Bill Elliott, he does get a good run when he runs the high line and Rusty runs the bottom. And there you see Bill Elliott. He goes right to the middle, trying to get a good run. It looks like he kind of checked up a little bit. His car got a little bit loose in the center of the corner. Had to check up. Couldn't really get a good run out of there. Is back there for 3rd. Tony Digg grabs 3rd off of Newman. Johnson's going to grab 4th off of Newman as well. Newman back to 5th. Labonte in 6th. Zachary Smithley in 7th. Matt Kenseth in 8th. Michael Waltrip in 9th. Ricky Rudd in 10th. Jeff Warren in 11th. And there you see in 12th, Jeff Green, who alongside Zachary has been a pretty shocker, or been one of the shocking drivers so far this season. Jeff Green has started off the season with 3 top 10s and 1 top 5, and right now he's in 12th, looking for a 4th straight top 10 here at Atlanta. As Rusty is winning every single lap thus far this race. That Miller Lite Dodge, it can get around this racetrack pretty well, and he is pulling a little bit of a gap on Bill Elliott, but he's got to pay attention to when Bill gets those runs. Newman trying to take 4th back from Johnson. Johnson's going to have a run down the back straightaway that's going to allow him to keep 4th and try to set after Tony. The main question is, can he get to Tony? But it seems like Tony's kind of pulling away and slowly catching Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace. But Ryan Newman, he has been really stellar these first 3 races. Like we said in the beginning, he's won 2 out of the first 3. The Daytona 500 and last week at Las Vegas at the UAW Daimler Chrysler 400. So Newman is strong. Even though he's back there in 5th, he does bide his time quite often. And he bided his time at Vegas to get a really good pit stop to then go run down Matt Kenseth to grab the lead and take the win away from him last week. And even though today may not be a repeat of last week between Newman and Kenseth, we're definitely having a little bit of an old school battle between Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott in the 2 and the 9. Both Dodge cars. Dodge has been really good. It's another thing too. Dodge has won 2 of the first 3 races of the season. Today might be its 4th, as Johnson and Tony Stewart are going side by side for 3rd. As the battle for the lead between Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace heats up. Elliott to the outside, Rusty down low. Nice run on the outside for Bill Elliott. He'll grab the lead, and he takes the lead away from Rusty Wallace coming out of turn number 4, and he'll lead lap 15 or lead the 15th lap of this race. And Bill Elliott, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, is out front at Atlanta. We look back to 3rd, Johnson and Tony Stewart. Still side by side for 3rd. Tony gets a nice run on the outside to keep the position over Johnson. Johnson will tuck back in and try to maybe get another good run on Tony to try and grab 3rd. As you see Rusty Wallace in the 2, ever since Bill Elliott got around him, he's passed him, or he's fallen back from Bill Elliott quite a bit. He's now fallen into the clutches of Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson for 2nd and 3rd, and possibly even Ryan Newman. Rusty's going to try the outside. Tony's going to go in the middle. Tony just about got up into the side of Rusty Wallace, but Rusty gets a nice run coming out of 1 and 2, I should say, to keep 2nd over Tony and push Tony back into the clutches of Johnson. And Johnson's going to he's got to figure out how to get around Tony, as Tony's running that middle line, but running the outside line does get you a better run. And that's how Bill Elliott ended up getting the lead over Rusty. And that's how Rusty was able to maintain 2nd over Tony. As you see back there in 4th, the battle for 4th between Johnson and Newman once again. Johnson looks like he's going to get a nice run on the outside to try to hold the spot. Newman kind of stays with him, but Johnson's probably going to have to check up because Tony jumped from the outside, jumped from the bottom to the outside to block Jimmy's run. That's going to keep Newman and Johnson side by side for 4th. Tony did kind of get in the middle of that. And with that block on Johnson, he's going to have a run on Rusty Wallace again. He's going to try to go for it once more, as Newman's going to try to go for it on Johnson. Rusty holding his own on the outside on Tony. Can he get another one on the outside to hold the 2nd position? And he does. Nice, beautiful run from Rusty on the outside to grab the spot. Johnson's going to go to the inside. He also got a nice run on the outside. He takes the momentum into 3, jumps to the inside of Tony to try to grab 3rd. Tony gets a little bit further up to the outside, and that's going to push him back, but he might still get a good enough run to hold the position over Johnson, and he does down the straightaway. And this is why the old Atlanta is better than the new Atlanta. Is Tony back up on the outside? Johnson, he tried to pinch it a little bit. But Newman, he's trying to take advantage of whatever these 2 drivers end up doing, their mistakes that they may end up making. He's lurking in the shadows, trying to make sure that if there's an accident or something happens between the 2, that he can pounce on it and capitalize. As Johnson kind of slips a little bit, and that's going to open the door for Newman to grab 4th off of Jimmy, because he was on the outside and had a good enough run. So Ryan Newman, the point leader, the Winston Cup Series point leader, up to 4th now. And he's going to try to set sail after Tony Stewart for 3rd. Rusty has driven away from these 3 to go run down Bill Elliott once more. Johnson's going to try the bottom. He jumps to the inside of Ryan Newman. Is he going to try to take 4th place back? But that outside has been Johnson's Achilles heel. When he ain't up there and the other drivers are, they get a better run than he does. And Ryan Newman keeps 4th over Jimmy, which has allowed Tony to pull away a little bit. Rusty is slowly pulling the gap back on Bill Elliott. He is finding losing speed in that middle line, but he might have to go further up the track to gain more speed, or to gain more time, rather, on Bill Elliott in the 9, if he wants to have a shot to win today. Bill Elliott is maintaining this race pretty beautifully, if I must say. As Rusty is slowly closing the gap, but he's not closing the gap as fast as he would like to, but he is slowly closing the gap on him. As we look back to 7th, I should say, with Zachary maintaining 7th over Matt Kenseth in 8th, Michael Waltrip still in 9th. Rudd is having a battle with Jeff Gordon for 10th. This battle has been going on for quite a while between Ricky Rudd, Jeff Gordon, and Jeff Green. They keep fighting. Kurt Busch in that 97 back there is going to have a shot at all three of them. See, Jeff Green kind of backed out of it. That was really tight coming out of turn number 3, so he wasn't really able to keep the momentum, try to hold it. He will fall into the clutches of Kurt Busch, though. Whoa! A little close between Kurt and Green. Jeff Green gets a nice run to hold the spot over Kurt Busch. As we look up further ahead, Matt Kenseth is going to go to the inside of Zachary. Zachary and Kenseth got close to Labonte. They're going to be side by side in 3 and 4. Can Zachary get the run on the outside? Doesn't look like it. Zachary's car might be plowing, which is why Matt Kenseth was able to take away the 7th spot away from him. Zach's going to try the bottom again, all the way around the white line. Try to get a run. He can't quite get a run on Kenseth to try to get the spot, but he will lose 7th. And Matt Kenseth, who is 2nd in the Winston Cup Series point standings, has missed out on 2 race wins. One by the driver he just passed, Zachary Smith, and the other, who is in 4th, battling Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Newman. And Kenseth, he's feeling a little bit of frustration, knowing that he's come so close twice already this season and hasn't been able to seal the deal. But you see back there in 5th, speaking of Kenseth, he's to the inside of Labonte. He's going to go for it. He's going to go for 6 here. He has a good car that can roll the bottom. He goes to the middle line. He tries to follow Labonte as much as he can in 3. Coming out of 4, Labonte has it. He'll hold the spot over Kenseth, and he'll maintain that 6th position. But Kenseth's going to fight back on the inside. He gets a nice run, and that catches Labonte off guard. And Matt Kenseth will just take 6th from Labonte. What a run from Matt Kenseth to 1 and 2 to grab that spot off of Labonte, to grab 6th position. That was an amazing run by the DeWalt Ford. Because now you see Jimmy Johnson in the 48. He's going to have Kenseth all over his back bumper. And Johnson, he saw what Kenseth did to Labonte, and he doesn't want Kenseth to do the exact same thing to him. He does slide up the track, though. The further we get into this race, the more the tires start to wear, the more tire these cars end up getting. As Zachary back there is kind of falling into the clutches of Michael Waltrip. His tires are slowly starting to go. He's side by side with Waltrip, and also Labonte is side by side with Johnson. As we look back here, the battle for 8th between Zachary, Waltrip, and Rudd. Zach jumps to the inside to block off the run from Michael Waltrip. He will hold 8th for now, but it won't be for long, because his tires are starting to slowly go away. He thought he was maintaining them. He thought he was managing them quite well. However, it doesn't seem like it. He does hold the position, though, so that is good. As Johnson's going to fight back up on the outside on Matt Kenseth to try to maintain 5th. But they've caught Newman, and that's the battle for 4th as well. The battle for 5th is coming to the battle for 4th. They're about to go 3 wide. Johnson bails out of it. Kenseth will clear Johnson, and into 1 and 2, Kenseth is going to try to clear Ryan Newman, his closest competitor in the championship. They're going to be side by side coming out of turn 2. Rudd and Johnson get a better run than Kenseth because they're utilizing that outside line and the better runs that they can get. So they'll keep the position. So Newman keeps the spot over Kenseth, and Johnson's going to try to fight back up on the outside, but Kenseth rolls the bottom a lot more better than any driver has been able to all day long. He'll be side by side with Johnson. Is he going to do what he did to Labonte and try to push him up the track? They go into 1 and 2. He doesn't even push him up the track. He just dives it into the corner, and he's going to grab the spot. Or will he? Here comes Johnson once again. Johnson's going to try to maintain the spot. As you see back there, Rudd, Gordon, and Waltrip still going at it for 9th. As the battle for 5th, 6th, no, it's for 5th, between Johnson and Kenseth is still ongoing. Johnson barely maintaining the position over Kenseth. But Kenseth gets such a better run in the corner. Is he going to try to force Johnson up the track? He doesn't do it. He doesn't force him up the track in the same way that he pushed Labonte up to get the spot. They'll be side by side down the back straightaway still. Kenseth trying to maybe look for a little bit more grip. Looking for a different line to maybe run. The only way it seems like he might be able to pass Jimmy is if Jimmy makes a mistake or he pushes him up the track and forces Jimmy to go backwards. But Johnson gets a good enough run on off the outside. He goes to the inside of Newman for 4th. And Johnson's going to dive into the bottom. Newman went higher and higher up the track. He's going to keep going higher and higher up the track. Can Johnson clear him out of 2? He can't. And him and Newman are side by side. Contact between team owner and team driver. Between Zachary and Gordon. They make more contact. Somehow that wasn't a crash. Oh, Zachary's going to get put 3 wide between Ricky Rudd and Kurt Busch. He tried holding off his team owner, but his car got so tight coming out of turn 2 that he bumped into his team boss Gordon. That he bumped into his boss Jeff Gordon. He lost the spot to Gordon. He makes a little bit of contact, it looks like, with Rudd. He's going to lose the position to Rudd. He's down to 10th. Kurt Busch is going to run on the nice one on the outside. He's going to lose 10th to him. He's back to 11th. Jeff Green and Michael Waltrip are there. You lose 11 to Waltrip. Zachary's tires are gone. So you see Jeff Green up on the outside. He's going to try to take 12th away. Doesn't get a run on the outside. He went up there a little bit later, but here comes Green. Him and Zach have been the stars so far this season. But it hasn't been the best of races for Green. But it's been a decent race for Green and Zachary. He was up there, but now he ain't. He's just falling back. As we look further ahead, Rusty Wallace has pulled away from Tony, but he's lost time to the leader, Bill Elliott. As Bill continues to lead here at Atlanta in his home race. The crowd are definitely loving this. NASCAR's most popular driver as of right now continues to lead here at Atlanta. And Bill Elliott, his time over at Everham Motorsports has, not to say that it's been bad or whatever, but it's definitely not up to Bill Elliott's standards. Bill Elliott has had races where he's done pretty good at, or he just has had races where hasn't been the greatest for him. But Bill Elliott has maintained a pretty good pace here. He's maintained some pretty good paces throughout the past couple of years as well over at Everham. He's got some pretty good finishes. Just a win has just been a little bit out of reach for him. We look further back in the pack as Zachary in the 80 continues to lose spots. Right now, he is fighting Elliott Sadler in the 38. Soon to be Kevin Harvick, Terry Labonte, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well. Zach's tires are just going away to the point where now he's getting passed by Sadler. Sadler's having a pretty decent run in that M&M's Ford. And Zachary, he just can't roll the middle with the condition his tires are in. He's going to lose a spot to Harvick. Harvick, who is 3rd in the championship. Kind of shocking to see him back this far back in the pack. He'll clear Zachary. Look further up ahead to Green, Rudd, Waltrip, Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, Labonte, Johnson, and Kenseth are still going at it. Johnson maintains the position. He still maintains 5th over Kenseth. But now that Johnson's on the bottom and Kenseth's on the outside, he's going to try to get a run up there. And Johnson blocks it perfectly. Forcing Kenseth to come up with something different, come up with a different run. And Kenseth's going to have to find a different way to get around Johnson. He may have to push Johnson up the track, or will he? Johnson messes up in turn 1. That's going to allow Kenseth the bottom. But Kenseth had to chip up a little bit because him and Johnson were about to make contact if he kept going. Johnson keeps 5th. What a battle between these two. Labonte's going to try to get involved in this. He got a little close to Kenseth, and Kenseth has lost some time to Johnson. Not too bad, though. Not the worst, as we are halfway through this race. Look up to third. Ryan Newman and Tony Stewart going at it for third. Ryan Newman, if he wants to maintain his point lead coming out of today, he's got to beat Kenseth for the third week in a row. Try to maintain that championship lead over Kenseth. Their nearest competitor, Harvick, you see him up there at the top of the screen, coming out of turn number 2. He's far back. He did not get a good qualifying at all. So they got to try to maybe pull away from him as best as they can, but Ryan Newman is trying to get around Tony, but Tony, he ain't budging in that Home Depot Chevy. So the battle for third continues on, but because they're battling it out for third, Johnson and Kenseth's battle for fifth is actually halted, so they can close the gap on these two. Newman goes to the inside, he makes a beautiful pass. And does he get third from Tony? It looks like he does. As they head down the back straightaway, Tony does keep it there on the outside. But if Newman can get a nice run through 3 and 4, he can hold third over Tony, but he gets a little bit loose in 3. And Tony, with the run on the outside, is going to get third back. And Kenseth, with the run on the outside on Johnson, is going to get fifth from him finally. If he just stays up there, he can get one more good run and maintain the spot over Johnson. He might even have to. He's going to just try to pull it down right in front of Johnson and get fifth. But Johnson fights back. Johnson ain't letting that duel 4 go, but it seems like he's going to have to as Kenseth gets fifth off of Johnson. As back at 7th, there's Labonte and Gordon battling it out. Labonte maintaining 7th over Gordon. Kenseth still fighting Johnson for 5th. Newman has lost a little bit of ground to Tony. The gap between Tony and Rusty has gotten bigger, and the gap between Rusty and Elliott keeps expanding. So now we're at the point in the race where you have to make where you got to figure out when you're going to make your pit stop. Is that Rusty Wallace making his pit stop? The pit window is open. Is Rusty going to force every driver down pit lane? Is he going to open the door and get others to go? Looks like he will. Rusty Wallace down pit lane. Bill Elliott will stay out. Stewart stays out. Wallace's teammate Newman comes in. And now it's when does Bill Elliott pit? See Rusty getting to service. It looks like Bill Elliott's going to jump to the bottom. It looks like Bill Elliott is going to attempt to come down pit road. He's got a big enough gap over second place, which is down Tony Stewart. Yep, he's coming down pit lane. You heard it. You heard him slowly lifting off the throttle and getting on the brakes. Bill Elliott is in. Along with Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson. Pretty much the rest of the field are coming into the pits. Elliott kind of gets held up a little bit by Mark Martin. A little bit of face full of the scoring monitor now. We look further back. There's Jeremy Mayfield. He's going to take the lead away as there's a little bit of trouble on pit road between Zachary Smithley and Tony Raines, and he misses his pit stop for the 2nd week in a row. That is not good at all for Zachary for the 2nd week in a row. He misses his pit stall just like he did at Vegas. However, he had contact with Tony Raines, which is not good. As Jeremy Mayfield holds the lead, Bill Elliott's going to finish up his service. And he's going to try to get to Jeremy Mayfield and try to grab the lead. The Evernham teammates so far have led this race. Mayfield did end up leading the lap, which is good for him. He does come down pit lane, bringing Kyle Petty, Ricky Craven, Robbie Gordon. As now we look to Bill Elliott to see what he's up to. As he is coming out of the pits. And Bill Elliott looks to be taking the lead away from Jeremy Mayfield. Bill Elliott back out front here at Atlanta with Rusty Wallace behind in 2nd. Rusty was able to close the gap with the undercut on Bill Elliott. Gotta watch out for the slow car of Casey Mears in the 41. Rusty's going to have to navigate his way around Mears. Bill Elliott didn't have to, but Rusty does. And even though Rusty's going to maintain the run on the outside, he will lose a little bit of time to Bill Elliott in the 9. But Bill Elliott, he was able to get back out front to lead this race. Rusty Wallace was hoping that he would get a nice undercut on Bill Elliott to grab the spot. However, it just didn't look like it happened, or didn't look like it was going to happen. But he still has enough time to close the gap on Bill Elliott. It would be a heartbreaker for everybody here in Atlanta, Georgia, if that did happen. Because the home hero, Bill Elliott, is out front, and he's been out front for a long time. And it's been a long while since Bill Elliott last won a race here in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. It's also been a while since Rusty Wallace also won a race in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series as well. So both of these drivers are trying to get their first win in a long time. As Bill Elliott continues to maintain the lead, continues to etch out ever so slightly on Rusty Wallace. And as we look further back in the pack to all these other drivers, there's Johnson in the 48. He did not have a good stop. He's back pretty much with Tony Raines. Got the RCR teammates of Kevin Harvick and Jeff Green. Steve Park is having a pretty decent race. He's needed this race for after a while now. He's needed a good race. It has not been the greatest for him in a minute. Look all the way back there to the 80 of Zachary. Not good for him at all. His tires were going away, and he was starting to fall back in the pack, and he ended up having an issue on pit lane. And that pushed him even further back. So we look back to the battle for the lead between Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace. Rusty is slowly closing the gap, but the lap cars are coming. They're slowly coming into frame, coming into picture. So this might help out Rusty. The only thing that we have to keep in mind, though, is how will Bill Elliott navigate this lap traffic once he catches him? If Bill Elliott can't navigate the lap traffic in a good enough fashion, that'll give Rusty the opportunity to catch him and maybe even pass him, but it also comes down to if Rusty can navigate this lap traffic at the same pace or same speed that Bill Elliott can. As they come to 30 laps to go, Bill Elliott is pulling the gap on Rusty again. So Rusty might have to bank on these lap cars to try to help him. As there's a gap between Rusty and Bill. About 7 or 8 car lengths between the two. Rusty is trying his absolute hardest to get to the front. 2002 is the first season that Rusty Wallace went winless in his entire career in the Winston Cup Series. He's trying to break the long winless drought. He's trying to come back from a winless season to winning again in the Miller Lite Dodge. Will it be possible? We have no idea. But he is trying to get to Bill Elliott. He is slowly gaining some time back on the 9. But it's not a lot of time. It's only little gaps, little by little. And it's not enough. We look back to the Roush boys of Matt Kenseth and Kurt Busch battling it out for second, battling it out for what seems to be 6th position. Kenseth gets a nice run on the outside and keep the position over Kurt. It's a nice little run by Kenseth. Then Elliott Sadler, Rudd, Labonte, Waltrip with a really good run today. There's Gordon in 5th, Stewart in 4th, Newman in 3rd. Then Rusty Wallace in 2nd, and Bill Elliott maintaining the lead like he has been since around lap 15, lap 16. But look at all those lap cars. He is slowly gaining on Jimmy Spencer. So it's not like the lap cars are pulling away from him. He is closing the gap on him. And this might help out Rusty in the 2. But the question is, how long will it take for Bill to get to the lap traffic? Because maybe by then, Rusty's tires are going to be gone. And just look at all those lap cars. Look at the battle going on between Robbie Gorin, Jack Sprague, and Dave Blaney. And another one going on up ahead between Bodine, Nadeau, and Fittipaldi in his first Winston Cup points paying race. There's 2 3-car battles going on up ahead of him. But there are single cars separating them, like Jimmy Spencer in the 7 up there. Joe Nemechek in the 25 has actually joined the battle between Foyt, Sprague, and Blaney. But at the same time, maybe that 3-car battles are 3 wide up ahead of him. Elliott's glad that he ain't up there now because he's hoping that by the time he catches Spencer and laps Spencer, that these 3 wide battles will fizzle out. That's what he's mainly hoping for. You see, Spencer's kind of running a different line compared to Bill Elliott, and so is Wallace. Elliott is more to the inside now, and Wallace and everybody else are kind of around the middle to try to maybe gain some time. As there you see back in 3rd, Casey Mears and Ryan Newman are going at it. Mears is a lap down, and Ryan Newman is trying to get around him. And this might actually pull back Tony because Mears is not letting Newman go. And it seems like that with this battle, it might actually pull Tony Stewart into the grasp, or it might pull Newman back into the grasp of Tony Stewart. And that might actually hurt Newman quite a bit. Meanwhile, up front, look at those cars. They were strained out a little bit, but Spencer's caught Sprague. And Elliott is catching Sprague and Spencer. Is he back in 3rd? Newman's going to the bottom of Mears. But Mears, he's going to fight him back on the outside. He ain't giving the spot up. Tony's closing the gap on him, too. This is really going to frustrate Newman because he knows he can go catch Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott, but Mears is not having it. And Newman's kind of getting a little bit frustrated, it seems like. He is in the middle, but Mears, he's good on the outside. He's going to get a nice run on the outside, and he's going to frustrate the ever-living crap out of Ryan Newman, and he's going to keep the spot ahead of him. Not for position, but he's just going to stay ahead of him. And because of this, Tony Stewart in the 20 is slowly closing the gap because these two are side by side and battling each other hard. And you can tell that Newman doesn't want to battle Mears. He wants to get around him so he can put more of a gap on Tony. But because Mears is pulling Newman back, it's getting Tony to get closer and closer to him. Newman is going to clear Mears, or will he? Mears is coming back up on the outside. Newman doesn't go up to the outside to clear him. Mears is just going to fly right around the outside of him and go into 3. Still side by side. Stewart sees this, and he sees a huge opportunity forming in front of him to try to grab 3rd off of Newman. Newman is, I can tell you this right now, Newman is very frustrated under the helmet and inside that car of the L-Tel Dodge. Tony is slowly closing in on Newman. Newman is frustrated with the 41 of Mears. He's trying to get around him. He is killing his tires by doing this. By having to force his car to the bottom to try to get around Mears. And Mears trying to hold his own on Newman. Which, to his credit, he is. But he's also going to push Newman back even further now, closer to Tony. And that might have ended up hurting Newman's tires more. Tony is ever so close to the back of the 12 of Ryan Newman. He goes to the inside of Ryan Newman to try to grab 3rd. But Newman is going to do what Mears did and get a nice run on the outside to maintain the 3rd position and try to catch back after Mears. Is now up ahead. Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace do have lap cars in Jack Sprague in the 0. Elliott did navigate him quite well. Jack Sprague is now in the clutches of Rusty Wallace, and Wallace has to get around him. Sprague made it pretty easy on Elliott. But will it be the same for Rusty Wallace in the 2? Wallace just has to remember that Jack Sprague, he is a lap car, and he doesn't need to race him hard. But he does understand that Bill Elliott being out front is what's going to hurt him. Because he knows for a fact that if he can't get around Jack Sprague anytime soon, then Bill Elliott is going to drive away. As we have cars coming down, it's Tony Stewart and Ryan Newman that are coming down pit road. What in the world? Why are Newman and can they not make it? It seems like Newman and Tony can't make it. Yeah, they can't make it. They came down pit road, and that's going to push them back. They brought a lot of cars with them. It seems like not a lot of these drivers can make it. They did not put enough fuel in their car on their pit stop. Now that poses the question to Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace, did they put enough fuel in their car? Bill Elliott is coming closer and closer to the end of this race. He's got one more lap to hit, 15 laps to go. He's got these lap cars ahead of him. He's got a lot of work to do. But the question is, does he have enough fuel? And Rusty's going to the inside. Rusty might be coming down pit lane. Is that Rusty Wallace out of contention for the win? Spencer comes into pit road. And so is Rusty Wallace. Second place, Rusty Wallace is on pit road. What in the world is going on? Jeff Gordon, who was in third, was on pit road. And Bill Elliott's still out there. But Rusty, he can't make it. What in the world is going on? But also, it seems like Rusty, he had a really fast stop. There's no way that Rusty got enough fuel on that 2 car. There's no way. That was way too fast. He didn't even stop in his box for more than 2 seconds. As right now, second place is Matt Kenseth with Kurt Busch ahead of him. Yeah, Rusty's coming out of the pits right now. I don't think Rusty got enough fuel in his car. Rusty might have to come back down pit road. And it looks like it. Yeah, he's coming back in. He didn't fuel it all the way up. What in the world did Rusty just do? Rusty just soiled his chances of winning this race. What in the world is happening? There he is. There's Rusty. That is going to take him out of contention for good now. What in the world? Rusty didn't want to go a lap down, but in doing so, he screwed himself out of a better position. He's down in the 40s right now. Bill Elliott's going to lap him for a second time. Rusty is coming out of the pit, so Rusty might actually not go down another lap. But Rusty has really screwed his chances over with pitting twice in the span of a lap. And Bill Elliott now, he's looking ahead, seeing Rusty Wallace, and he's probably thinking, how is Rusty ahead of me? What in the world happened? Well, Bill, that was your closest competitor. That was your closest contender, and he pitted twice. He didn't get enough fuel in the first time, and the second time, he had to come back in the second time to get more in the car. So, Bill Elliott's all good. Bill Elliott is by himself, just battling his way through lap cars, and second place, who is Kurt Busch in the 97, is in turns 1 and 2 right now as Bill Elliott enters 3. This could not have gone any better for Bill Elliott and this 19 than what it has so far. Bill Elliott's closest competition is that Miller Lite Dodge, who is ahead of him in Rusty Wallace. But his closest competition thought he got enough fuel in on his first pit stop, realized he didn't, then doesn't even look like his jackman was even able to get the fuel canister in the car in the first place. The second time he came back down, because he just left immediately. And now Bill Elliott has to navigate his way through lap traffic, and this is pretty dicey for Bill, as he comes to 10 laps to go in the MBNA Bass Pro Shops 500 at Atlanta. He'll get his way around Kenny Wallace and Larry Foyt quite easily. He'll pull up and clear the 14 of Larry Foyt. You think Jeff Gordon is the one in second, but it ain't. It's the Roush driver, Kurt Busch, who's in second right now. And he is so far back, he's not even in contention for the win. Not even in contention for the lead. It is all Bill Elliott right here, right now for Everhand Motorsports with 9 laps to go. In front of the hometown crowd, in front of everybody, friends, family, loved ones. He's putting on a stellar drive. And with his closest competition being well over 10 seconds back, Bill Elliott doesn't have to worry about anything. But he does have to make it 8.5 more laps, or 8 and 3/4 of a lap more to get around this racetrack as he comes 8 laps to go now. And Bill Elliott, he doesn't have to push it. He just keep going at this pace as we look further and further back to find second place. And we think and it shows Matt Kenseth, but up ahead of him is actually Kurt Busch in the 97. Kenseth's just stuck behind Jack Sprague. Hey, and guess who's in 4th? It's actually Elliott Sadler in the 38. Sadler in the 38's in 4th, Rudd is in 5th, and Michael Waltrip is in 6th right now. Michael Waltrip having a top 10 run today, and that's really, really good for the Napa Chevy. But yeah, Kurt Busch all the way back in turn 3. Bill Elliott Kurt Busch was back in turn 4. Bill Elliott coming off of turn 2, and Kurt Busch might actually be entering turn 1 right now. Bill Elliott ends up getting passed by Ryan Newman. And just listen to the crowd. They're going absolutely nuts for Bill Elliott in the 9. As Bill Elliott, who hasn't won in so many years, is on pace and on course to not only get his win in so many, and not only get his first win in so many years, but to also do it in front of his hometown crowd, or in front of the home crowd here in Atlanta, Georgia. As the crowd, every single time he comes through the corners, just go absolutely bonkers for him. This is NASCAR's most popular driver after all. 5 laps to go for Bill. Bill Elliott, he can now just put it in cruise control and drive. He may have done that 5 laps ago. Just put it in cruise control and just cruise his way on home to victory. He's got Tabo Dine in the 54. Ricky Rudd in the 32. The crowd is getting louder and louder and louder every single time Bill Elliott comes through turns 3 and 4 and down the front straightaway into 1. He is behind Ricky Craven, but he ain't got to worry about nothing. He can sit behind Craven all he wants throughout possibly the remaining few laps if he wants to. As there's Kurt Busch in 2nd coming out of turn 2. And Matt Kenseth, there's a little bit behind him in 3rd. You think Jeff Green's in 4th? He ain't, unfortunately. His top 10 streak is actually might come to an end. As we're into the final 3 laps of this race. And Bill Elliott's all the way down in the middle of 1 and 2. And Kurt Busch just hit the start-finish line. And, well, there you see Bill Elliott. 3 wide with Tony and Craven. Bill Elliott is going to have a loud crowd reaction once he comes across that start-finish line on lap 81 of 81 to win this race. And this is going to be one heck of a celebratory win from Bill. Just maintaining the gap, maintaining the pace. He gets around Craven. He's got Jeff Gordon behind him. He doesn't have to worry about nothing. Doesn't have to worry about anything. Just listen to the crowd for a sec. They're going crazy for Bill as he rounds turn 3 and 4. And he's going to see the white flag one more lap here at Atlanta. Bill Elliott started 2nd in this race on the outside of the front row next to Rusty Wallace. Bill Elliott did not think that this win would come this soon. He thought it would take longer. He had no idea when he would win for another time. He didn't know if he would win another race before he retired. But Bill Elliott, in front of the hometown crowd here in Atlanta, Georgia, is going to do it. Awesome Bill from Dawsonville is rounding 3 and 4, and he's going to win at Atlanta. That is a win that Bill Elliott could savor forever. Bill Elliott wins the MBNA Bass Pro Shops 500 here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. What a race. Leads the most laps and gets his first win in so many years. He gets his first win since the 2001 Homestead race. What a race for Bill Elliott in the 9. As we now look at the finishing results of today's race, and these finishing results are something else, I'll tell you what. Bill Elliott wins at home, and for the first time since the 2001 Homestead race, with Kurt Busch in second, Matt Kenseth in third, Elliott Sadler with a top 5 run in fourth, Ricky Rudd in fifth, Michael Waltrip in sixth, Jimmy Johnson seventh, Mark Martin eighth, Kevin Harvick in ninth, and Warburton in 10th. Even though Harvick wasn't there the majority of the race, he will gain a lot of points on Ryan Newman, and so will Matt Kenseth in the 17th. And you have 11th through 20th with Tony Raines getting his best finish of his career so far in 11th. Steve Park with his best finish of the season in 12th. Andretti 13th. McMurray in 14th. Greg Biffle 15th. Zachary Smithley 16th. Mike Skinner 17th. Jerry Mayfield in 18th. Kyle Petty in 19th. And Johnny Benson in 20th. Really good run for Raines, Park, Andretti, even McMurray and Biffle, and Mike Skinner as well. And then here's a long list of drivers we did not expect down here from 21st to 30th, starting with Ryan Newman in 21st, Tony Stewart in 22nd, Jeff Gordon in 23rd, Ricky Craven in 24th, Todd Bodine in 25th, Bobby Labonte in 26th, Larry Ford 27th, Joe Nemechek 28th, Kenny Wallace in 29th, and Robbie Gordon, best finish of the season so far, in 30th. So he's going to need better runs than just 30th, but he's slowly getting there. And then here's 31st through 40th with Dave Blaney 31st. Christian Fittipaldi in his first race finishes 32nd. Jeff Green 33rd. Casey Mears 34th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 35th. Dale Jarrett 36th. Jack Sprague 37th. Terry Labonte in 38th. Jeff Byrne in 39th. And Jerry Nadeau rounds out the top 40 in 40th. And then we have the final three. Sterling Marlin at 41st. Rusty Wallace in 42nd. And then Jimmy Spencer 43rd. Sterling Marlin's race was pretty much over by lap 1, or the end of lap 1, and he just wasn't able to recover from that. There was no way he was going to be able to recover from that incident unless a caution came out, which one didn't. And Rusty Wallace, he had a top 10 car, and if he just put enough fuel in his car on his first pit stop, there was a big chance that he was going to walk out of this race with that, at the very least, a top 5. Instead, though, he made 2 stops towards the end, and it screwed him over big time. And it looked like he had a shot at Bill Elliott, too. That's another thing as well. He had a shot at him. And if he just minded his P's and Q's and just didn't try to, wear out his tires in the way that he did, well, safe to say that Rusty would have finished a lot more better than down in 42nd with Sterling Marlin and Jimmy Spencer. Definitely could have ended a lot more better for Rusty and the two, and it absolutely gutted for him. His teammate continues to outshine him this season, and unfortunately, Rusty Wallace, who started on pole, led some laps, he's going to have to unfortunately continue that streak of 0 wins in so many races. But now it's time to check out the point standings. Matt Kenseth now has overtaken Ryan Newman for the championship lead by only 28 points, who's now second. Kevin Harvick is third with Ricky Rudd in fourth. Bill Elliott up to fifth. Mark Martin is sixth. Zachary Smithley is in seventh. Kurt Busch in eighth. Tony Stewart in ninth. And then Jeff Green in 10th. Andrew teammates of Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson are in 11th and 12th. Jarrett is now 13th. Mayfield 14th. Sadler up to 15th. Earnhardt Jr. 16th. Burton in 17th. Andretti's up to 18th. Nemechek in 19th. And then there's Rusty Wallace in 20th. And then Michael Waltrip 21st. Bobby Labonte in 22nd. McMurray 23rd. Greg Biffle 24th, Warburton 25th, Bodine 26th, Kyle Petty 27th, Kenny Wallace 28th, Ricky Craven 29th, and Sterling Marlin in 30th. Not very good. Then Mike Skinner 31st, Johnny Benson 32nd, Terry Labonte 33rd, Larry Ford 34th, Steve Park 35th, Blaney 36th, Raines 37th, Mears 38th, Nadeau 39th, and Robbie Gordon 40th. And then you have the other 9 drivers on the right side of the screen. Casey Alwyn in 41st, Spencer 42nd, Sprague 43rd, Schrader 44th, Mike Wallace in 45th, Pruitt in 46th, Fittipaldi in 47th, Buckshot in 48th, and Hermie Sadler in 49th. We're now getting to the point in the season where if you're not in the top 35 in points, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to qualify for these races. So drivers from Dave Blaney all the way down to Hermie Sadler, if they get the chance to run some races this season, they gotta step it up a notch. And Steve Park has done that, and Tony Raines, who started his first race at Vegas, is slowly starting to get there. So we'll see how the point standings will shape up here in the next couple of weeks. And maybe it'll change a lot. Maybe it won't change at all. Who knows? But the next race that we are going to is actually an exciting one. We're going to Darlington for the Carolina Dodge Dealers 400. Should be a lot of fun. It's a race that I think everybody will enjoy. The drivers themselves enjoy this race a lot. There was a fantastic finish here, IRL, at this place between Kurt Busch and Ricky Craven. I'm not saying that it's going to happen again, but if there was a reenactment of it between two different drivers, or maybe the two same drivers, there's a possibility that this race will probably go down in history as one of the best that I think any of us have ever seen, ever. I don't know about that last bit, but possibly. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell below for some more. I will have some F1 stuff up over the course of this week leading up to Darlington. But I'm also trying to finish up F1 24 so I can get ready for F1 25's my team and figure out all that shit. So that's mainly what I'm going to be doing. NASCAR 7 will eventually return as well. Might be a little bit, but it's definitely a lot of fun doing this, and we ain't stopping. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, so thank you guys so much. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day. I love y'all. I love each and every single one of you. There we go. Can't speak, and I'll see you all later. Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye.